This video is sponsored by Big Boy Gaming. Follow the link in the description below for all of your card gaming needs. What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Edison Club. I'm your host, Mike, joined tonight by my teammate, Austin Butcher, and special guest, Ethan Slaughter, one of the admins from the Time Wizard Hub on Facebook. And tonight we're going to be going over all of the best light monsters of Edison format. If you were watching the channel, we did the best dark monsters a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to try to cover every attribute. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started. But before we get started, as always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe. It really just motivates me to keep going, getting better at the game, as well as content creation. Also, if you enjoy the kind of content that I make, head on down to the description below and follow the links posted to the other creators. Odds are, if you like what I make, you'll like what they make as well. So, first on our list this evening is going to be Cyber Valley. Where do we feel like Cyber Valley belongs?
I don't really see him played a lot per se, but when I do, it's in tandem with stuff like mind control. So he's definitely like more of a utility card. Like I see a lot of people, do the mind control play and then banish both.
Yeah.
He's definitely fun to summon off of a recruiter. I mean, I would put him at like a solid B or C. I mean, I'm not going to put him like super high in my opinion because you don't really see him get played a lot. But for what his effects do, like generically speaking, I mean, he's a very good card. Like he's like right there, like right at where you want a card to like do something impactful, maybe late game or at the start of.
Yeah, that's true. Definitely true.
No,
Austin, what do you feel? You feel about the same way?
Yeah, I think he's definitely like a B tier card, maybe like high C tier card, but I'm fine with putting him in B. I think he's a very underutilized card, and I really feel like it could be used more in the game than it is.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, that's
absolutely. True. I think return plays with this card are just hilarious. Like,
yeah, this card gets really obnoxious when you play against Macro Stun and they're comboing this with DD Survivor. It gets to be a lot.
I'm lucky I've never had to go against that.
Lucky you.
The second effect. I mean, some people forget about the other effect of just being able to stop and attack and draw.
Yeah, being able to, because it ends the battle phase, correct?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does, and then you get to draw a card. Yeah.
I think that B tier is a good place for him to live. Okay. So next up on our list is Armory Arm.
Oh, dude, don't even get me started on this card, man. This card, it is so wild to see this card still exist and be as good as it is in Tengu. Like Edison is one thing, but seeing someone summon an Orient Dragon and equip an Armory Arm to it and just beat you for 35 when you're in a different format, it's still just as impactful. Like the things enabled with this are just wild, honestly, because like there's so many decks that can make it that you really don't think that could. Like the level 2 aspect is just like, oh, I can make this with 2 level 2s. Cool. I didn't even think about that as a game plan. But the colossal, just the burn, man, it's just wild. Yes. The amount of time you could just kill your opponent because they don't have back row and they have something that has higher than 19. It's like, oh, GG, sorry. Like,
yeah, out of nowhere, the game is just over.
Yeah, I think we all the fighter, story that we've all just been like, what the crap? Like, this is really in the game.
Yeah, yes. I mean, Diva Hero abuses the hell out of this. Like Evil Hero, Infernal Prodigy, Diva with Mali. It's like, oh, that's it's over. Like,
yeah. Oddly enough, the amount of times I've made this card with Ryko and Plague Spreader and Lightsworn and like attacked something and dropped Honest, it's happened way too many times. Like that, I've just used this card as an attacker. So it's always fun when that happens.
Before, and I think my favorite usage of it is just the fact that they, like, say you do kill something by battle with it equipped, they take the damage. So even if you're not doing the colossal like OTK, like you could still like burn for game off of this damn card.
Yeah, definitely. So where we want to rank him? I feel like he's definitely A tier, if not higher.
He's definitely A tier, higher A tier for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in pretty much every extra deck that does have Colossal in it.
Yeah, no, definitely A tier. And we can revisit this, if we feel like we need to bump it up, we can at the end.
Yeah, we always go over at the end and decide should we move anything. But yeah, I think A tier is good for Armory Arm.
You got to think about what it does in Fish OTK. I know not many people play that deck, but they play double Colossal, double Armory for that exact reason. So I mean,
Yeah, and they can make double Armory Arm Colossal very easily. All just Coelacanth has to resolve, and that's it.
look down at the board. I got killed by an Oystermeister play. What happened?
Yeah. Yeah, when that card comes down and like you have no way to stop it, it's just over. My friend has been playing Fish and we've played a lot, and that's actually a matchup that will teach you to like recognize board states. Like I can't tell you how many times he's killed me because I've left like a Briannac in attack mode when it should have been like whoever summons Brio in defense mode. You know, like
Never.
It's so weird.
It's weird.
Yeah. So definitely A tier on Armory Arm. So definitely agree with that. Next we have Dimensional Alchemist. This is a pretty pivotal piece of the fairy puzzle.
Oh, he's just so good. And the fact that you could summon him off recruiters, you could declare priority on the effect. You know, honestly, when I think about him, I'm like, you know, if he didn't miss timing sometimes, I feel like he'd just be too good. Like,
Yeah. If this card didn't miss timing, this card would be S tier for sure.
Like, I don't even think the mistiming is necessarily a con. I think the con with him is just the chance of banishing something like heavy or like your like utility spells or traps. But like that's the risk you take. But like in fairies, you play so many monsters. It's so easy to make him such a like a pivotal like part of the deck itself. Like he's such a good card for that deck.
Yeah, I agree. I agree for sure.
Also, the 1800 is definitely very relevant. Like, it doesn't beat over Rai-Oh or like Neos Alias, but like it gets over some stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and if he stays on the board for multiple turns, he can really turn into an issue quickly, especially with the newer version of fairies now that plays Miraculous Descent. That can snowball
So
pretty
cool.
quickly.
So cool. That card enables so many things.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Butcher, what are your thoughts on Dimensional Alchemist?
I mean, y'all pretty summed it up pretty good right there. I think the only real issue with the card is like fairies are kind of falling out of favor, and a lot of people are really playing it right now. I feel like that's
Yeah.
probably the only card. But other than that, I mean, if y'all say A tier, I'm definitely on board with that. I don't think it's S tier status, but
I definitely don't think it's S tier. I think another thing to note is like while it is played in like fairy decks, I've also seen it played in some like chaos plant decks where it really
Yeah, I've
shines
seen
in
that as
those
well.
too.
yeah, no, definitely agree.
Like be it D-Alch banish top card DDR. Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So do we want him in A tier? Or do you want him in B tier?
He's either a lower A tier or a high B tier, I feel like.
Yeah.
High B is fine, but I think lower A is like probably where most people would agree he would go.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we can put him in lower A tier. Okay. Next up is one I feel like is probably our first S tier card, and it's Lyla, Lightsworn Sorceress.
Oh, I agree. I mean, it's played in so many decks. I mean,
it's just so good.
yeah. I mean, we could go on and on. I mean, even Value Turbo starting to play it. Machina Turbo plays it.
Dude, when Nick threw it in Amaryllis, I was just like, what a genius! Like, what are you thinking here? Like, what is going on right now?
Yeah, Lyla is just so good.
It's their card, like it enables so much.
Yeah, I always said like I wish this card had 1900 attack. Can you imagine if Lyla had 1900 attack?
No, I can't. It'd be level 5.
Yeah, it would have to be level 5.
It's so good. No, but I think honestly, the fact that your opponent can take it and they can't like just do what you did with it like the previous turn is honestly so nice too.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think she
goes
in S tier
almost.
Yeah, being able to be just like in a lot of ways better Breaker the Magical Warrior. Like I usually almost always play 2 of this card in Lightsworn, but there are a lot of my list I also play 3 because it's just so strong.
Dude, it's wild. A lot of the earlier lists of Twilight Sworn I've seen only play 1. It's kind of crazy.
I think I only played 1 when I like first started playing Lightsworn.
Yeah. But back row is just so pivotal to the format. I keep using that word, pivotal. It's just so like essential to like keep the game going. Like trap cards are wild, man. So it's like I definitely agree with 2, but she's definitely a S tier card, hands down. Like
yeah,
You could throw her in anything that gets benefit from the graveyard. I've seen her in some wacky quick draw lists, and she really puts her generic use like right in there. Like, cause you could run charge in those kinds of decks. She's searchable at that point.
And she randomly can make Tempest Magician with Plague Spreader, which does
My
come up.
favorite freaking interaction ever. Love that. Tempest Magician burn for gay.
Yes, I love that too. Love that. Okay. So next up we have Ancient Sacred Wyvern.
Oh, dude, I wish this card saw more play. I love its effects so much. Like, I
Me too.
think this might be a little bit of a bias, but I think you do have to be a little bit more skilled in the timing of when to drop this, like in Fairy, like when you're going to do it. Because, like, the game plan when I first started, I noticed people would just enough fairies engraved for Kristya. At that point, like, the Ancient Sacred Wyvern isn't really that good. But if you have more life points than your opponent, it's like it's not worth dropping in that sense.
Yeah, it's
But
also like
OTKing people is just so fun with it. Like, yeah, it has
yeah, it is.
7600. You heard that right. Yeah.
I kept up with this card the whole time I played Kristya Sworn, and I've summoned this card one time. In all of my games that I have played, I have only ever summoned it once because it's
Twice
so
for me,
hard.
just
It
twice.
literally takes Orange Light Celestia. That's like the only way to get into it, or like Orange Light Android.
Yeah. I think that if it was reversed and it said that if you have lower life points than your opponent, then it gains the difference. It would go very well with the fact that you can crash and stuff like with the recruiters, but the fact that you have to be higher, just they could give it like a 700 point boost, make it like a 28 or something, and maybe it'd be a little bit better. But like,
Yeah,
I could definitely see its usage sometimes, but otherwise, I think it's a solid C tier for me, honestly. Like, I can see its usage in the extra deck in that deck, but I mean, obviously, you're not going to see it in anything else, really.
yeah,
I agree.
yeah. I agree.
I think how hard it is to make, and really only like 2 or 3 decks are playing the card. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so situational, really.
Yeah, I agree. As much as I like it when you do get to summon this card, it doesn't happen very often. So maybe that's a good thing though, that it's kind of hard to make this guy because you can do some pretty crazy kills with this guy, and he's basically immune to brain control.
Yeah, the 2 kills that I've done with it were wild. He had like 11,000 attack. It was crazy.
Yeah, he gets big really quickly.
That's why
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say like D tier, just because like he does have value as a card. It is very situational.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, next up we have the mighty Blue Eyes White Dragon.
I think anything other than S tier is just wrong here. I mean,
Yeah, no,
Ooh.
Kaibo was gonna find all of us and just skin us alive if we say anything other than S tier.
Yeah, the amount of games that I have died to a Blue Eyes and Edison format, it's a lot, and this card is just such a key piece of the Dragon Turbo combo. And I really like how that deck uses this guy. Like, they'll actually summon Blue Eyes, beat people down, where it's not like a deck like Exodia where they're just playing it basically for its level and its searchability off of Whitestone. So I really do like how Turbo like takes full advantage of literally beating people with Blue Eyes. So I feel like this is an S tier card in Edison.
I absolutely agree. Engine of Destruction, virtually invincible.
The rarest card, too hard to get. Isn't that what like the original text
That's
is?
what the $500 Starlight says. Yes.
Yeah, I love that one. I've always wanted that one, the one with that flavor text.
Yeah, no, it's still like $500. I'm pretty sure, just because that's the only time it's been printed that way. It's so funny that it's all in English, even though that's a Japanese set. That's the wildest part to me.
Yeah, that is wild. Okay, pairing with Blue Eyes, we have Electric Virus, so you can take your opponent's Blue Eyes.
I think we have like D tier. Like, I mean, this sees no play. It's a really good, but
no. So here's the thing. I see people play it. They just never draw it or never resolve it. When I was at when I was at the most recent YCS at Indy, like I saw like 3 different people with this card in their side deck, thinking they were gonna go against like Dragon Turbo or like Disaster Dragon, like whatever else. Like some people were citing it for Machina, but like. I mean, like, I can see the usage being like, haha, you summoned Gear Frame. Effect. like I get it, but like at the same time, it's just like it's so niche. Like, it's only good against 2 decks. And like,
All the times I've ever sided this card myself, I ended up dying before I got to activate it.
Exactly. It's like being like, I sided Marionette Might. Like,
yeah. Yeah, give me your Doom Kaiser Dragon.
for real.
Yeah, I think unfortunately he does have to go into D tier. I just don't think he's strong enough of a card.
No, I agree. So situational.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, I was playing him in Lightsworn for a little bit because you can use Beckoning Light to actually recur him, which is kind of cool. All right. Well, next up we have Prime Material Dragon.
Dude, let me just say, first off, this card is absolutely ridiculous. The fact that it is
I'll put it in S tier.
Yeah, the fact that it is not once per turn is just wild. like they're just like, oh, swing, Mirror Force, no, Sakuretsu armor, no, like just anything, like
Widespread Ruin, no.
like it's just crazy. And then the other effect that people kind of forget, the burn damage being turned into life point gain. You know, I don't know how much that actually comes up, but like it's just cool to have that like little niche side effect there. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, I'll tell you a very short story. When I was first getting into Edison and like learning to play, my first deck I played was actually Diva Hero when I started playing Edison, and I played against dragons, and they had Darkness Metal and Prime on the field, and I wasn't thinking, so I put an Armory Arm on my. You can see where this is going. An Armory Arm on my absolute zero,
about this.
and attacked over Darkness Metal, and I was like. You take 28, and they were like, actually, I gained 28. And I'm like, why is that so specific to this situation? Literally, why? Yeah, no, and I lost because it gave them enough juice to brain control me.
I think the wildest part about this card is that it negates activations. Like, it's not negating the effect, it negates the freaking activation. So, like, it can stop so many things. It can stop things in the damage step. It's just, it's fantastic in that sense.
Yeah, it's definitely... I know like some turbo players are 50-50 on whether or not they play this. But whenever I play against like the Disaster Dragon decks and they put up this guy, it's really hard to get rid of.
Yes, like you need to Caius this mofo or you're screwed. Like
Yeah. Yeah. You have to do something like that or hope that they're dumb enough to attack it into deep prison.
Yeah, I just seeing that it has 2,000 defense makes me get a little bit deeper into my head, and I'm like, what if Shining Angel did what Pyramid Turtle did? Like, oh my god.
Yeah, that would be insane. Okay, next up we have Arcana Force Zero, the Fool, and recently just educated Ethan on what this one did right before we get started. So it can't be destroyed by battle. It can't be changed to defense position if it's in attack mode, and if it's special summoned, you toss a coin. If it's heads, it can't be targeted by your opponent's card effects. If it's tails, it can't be targeted by your card effects. Or something like that. Maybe it's vice versa. I'm not reading it. But one way or the other, that's its effect.
Read it. Hold on.
I feel like
Yu-Gi-Oh players.
We don't read. More of a trigger than anything. Like, I don't know. A lot of people just don't play it. I couldn't see it being any higher than C tier.
Okay, hold on. So it's actually a little bit better than what you were saying, Michael.
Ooh, okay. All right. So hype my mans up.
This card cannot be destroyed by battle. This card cannot be changed to defense position except with a card effect. When this card is summoned, not just special summon, just summoned, toss a coin and gain the appropriate effect. Heads, negate your card effects that target this card and destroy them. Tails, negate your opponent's card effects that target this card and destroy them. So that's... It's a little bit better. Like when you said it had to be special summoned earlier, I was like, oh no, that makes it... I mean, I guess it's only good in certain scenarios, but like, I guess if you really wanted to niche this card out and just stall your opponent, you definitely could. Of course, you need like second coin toss or something.
Hey, you could summon this guy in defense mode off of Nova Summoner and get the Tails effect. Now you just have untargetable, undestroyable guy.
Well, what I did just look at, he does activate every time he does destroy, so you better hope they don't have a Herald or something, but otherwise, like...
That is true. It's true. So we think C tier for this guy?
Yeah, I think he's a C tier. I mean, he doesn't get played enough. He's not relevant enough to really change the meta or be impactful.
Yeah, I mean his effects are cool. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, you could brew something up. I'm sure someone could brew something up, but like I wouldn't say he's relevant by any means.
Okay. C tier it is then. All right, next up we have Avenging Knight Parshath. This is my favorite synchro in the format.
Really?
Yep, this is my favorite Edison synchro.
I like him a lot. I have used his effect to win games a couple times. They're definitely very enjoyable. There aren't many cards that have piercing at this time that are seeing play. You know, you got Bora, you got this, you got Flambeau Requisis, but like I do enjoy this card a lot, honestly. I kind of wish he was generic, honestly, rather than just being, other light monsters. But
Yeah.
I do think he has plenty of applications. He's beefy, he's 26. He gets over Stardust, a couple other things. So I could place this card in B tier for sure.
I think so too. When I had to play against Black Wings in the top cut of Richmond, the guy tried to wall me out with Armor Master. And this card also has the effect that you can target a monster your opponent controls and put it in defense, which combos really well with Aaron. So that was how I got over his Armor Master.
Oh, that's genius. Yeah, okay.
I actually forgot about. Not even gonna lie. Wow.
So I didn't forget about it, but I didn't think about the applications it would have like with other decks. Like I figured that's why it has piercing in the first place, but like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
actually
there
really
have
cool.
been times where I played and like I either felt like they had judgment or that I knew they had judgment, and I would like summon this guy, they judgment, and he's also a fairy, so it like puts the fourth fairy in your graveyard for Kristya.
It's like you got baited.
Yeah, you got it. But you can do the same thing with Ancient Sacred Wyvern, but it's just so hard to make.
Yeah.
But I think B tier is good. I just think it's too hard of a card for decks to make. And even Lightsworn and Kristya you don't actually make this guy that often.
Yeah, I feel like every time I've seen this card get made, or even the Ancient Sacred Wyvern, back to that, is mid game, late game. Like I never see this
Yeah.
card like just I'm gonna do this turn 3. Like
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny too, the random times where it comes up for a kill with Honest, where you just have like a really big piercer. Sometimes that comes up against Amaryllis when you just get in for 48 on one attack.
yeah.
All right. Next up we have Cyber Dragon.
Oh god, this card changed Yu-Gi-Oh, man. Like it made Monarchs have all the the SJC wins that they had. Like it's the first huge shift in Yu-Gi-Oh. Like it's honestly crazy to think about something so simple benefiting off of just game mechanics. Like it makes so many things just completely different than they would be. Like
Yes.
and I mean, understandably so, it's at 2. Like I get that completely because otherwise people would still be just running around with Monarchs just turboing out as much as possible. Um, I think that it has definitely fallen out of the format a little bit. Like I don't see Fortress Dragon in people's extra decks as much anymore.
I don't either,
But
and I think it's crazy.
I think its relevance is just undisputable, though. Like it's a good card through and through, and it does what it does so well. Not only that, if for whatever reason you need to drop it again the same turn, you can. Like
Yeah. Yeah, this card can just be. I always say, like, this card is a monster and it's also MST because a lot of times you summon this guy, he eats bottomless or he eats deep prison or whatever. It's just, like you said, for this card to be so simple.
Yeah, and if it doesn't eat just normal Plague Spreader or Diva or whatever, you just get a free rose. Like you just nuke the board. Like
Yeah, it's true.
I
I think this is an
he
S tier
applies
card.
so much pressure. Oh, absolutely, without a doubt, he's S tier, hands down. Like high S tier. Like
Yeah. What do you think, Butcher?
No, definitely S tier. I mean, I was gonna say what you were gonna say, Void. It's literally MST. Literally, this card just eats every back row, usually like bottomless or something.
Well, you got to think if they
Mark.
don't do it, and you're going second, and they're not having the best hand. You pair this with a normal summon, you've got instant pressure on the board.
Yeah. Yeah, my favorite interaction with him is just contacting away card trooper so they don't get the draw. I always love
Oh,
that.
it's so nice. It's so I don't get to do that often, but it's so nice when I do.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Next one is Celestia Lightsworn Angel.
S all day, bro.
I think it is
Yeah.
S tier. It's a game-changing card, and it's so good against Black Wings and Value Turbo. I mean, it's literally just I hate seeing this, especially
Yeah.
whenever you combo off with like Ryko or something. It can get nutty really really
Ye-
fast. It
I
just
Yeah.
think
Anytime that I resolve this card, I feel like I win. In the games that I lose, when I resolve it, I'm just like, how did I lose? Because being able to pop
yeah,
2 and
no.
mill 4 is so
It's just
crazy in
wild.
Lightsworn.
So my thing about Celestia is I think people forget that you have it. Like I think they're like, oh, they have one monster on board and it's a Lightsworn. I don't need to get rid of that. Oh, you really did, bro. You really did need to get rid of that. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
and it pairs so well with Wolf in tandem. You mill a Wolf, you have another body on the board, and if they couldn't out your board, then you have something to get rid. It's like you don't mind that you're getting rid of that. Like obviously tributing over a Lyla or something else that would give you more benefits in that game. You don't necessarily want to get rid of. But Wolf, he's a beat stick. Like that's what he's there for. I feel like more than anything else, he's not so much just there for solar recharge, but he's absolutely there for Celestia tribute fodder.
Yeah. That's a big reason too why Lightsworn plays stuff like Threatening Roar. Just being able to
Yeah, no,
get the
I
Celestia conversions.
well, dude, so I know so many people with the attitude of, oh, he swung with a wolf first. I'm not gonna waste my mirror force on that. Well, dude, main phase 2, Celestia, like, they don't respect wolf enough to do anything about it in those moments, and then because it doesn't have like an effect, you know what I mean? And then they just get eaten by Celestia right after.
Yeah. Yeah. Most definitely. Yeah. Definitely an S tier card for sure. I always enjoy dropping this card. It feels so good. Feels so nice when you just like you stick a Lightsworn on the field, like you have Ryko set, they summon, they don't attack, you pop their monster, attack for 200, and they drop Gores, and you just Celestia the Gores. It feels so good. It's the best feeling. It makes you feel like such a giga brain when it happens.
Oh, for sure. It's like- they're like, wait, what? Fuck. Like,
Yeah, they're
oh.
like, my plan.
And can we just talk about the artwork really quick? Like top 3 Lightsworn arts for me, hands down.
Yeah,
Like
same.
oh
Same.
the Euro ulti's wild too.
Yeah. Yeah. She's my girl. Okay. All right.
I'm sorry,
On
sir.
to,
That is a woman.
That's true. That's a whole woman. All right. Next, we have Gillen Duo, who I feel is probably about the same as Arcana Force the Fool.
Yeah, you telling me about that interaction that you had with it earlier about how it like won you that game at Raleigh. It was really honestly cool. I never thought of something like that, but like in those niche situations, it's really cool. But honestly, tribute summoning Kristya is my favorite way to summon Kristya, besides like activating Call of the Haunted. So I mean, I think that the fact that it serves as 2 tributes for a fairy monster is honestly really cool.
Yeah. Doesn't come up a lot, but when it does, it can definitely be impactful for sure.
Yeah.
Austin, you think you're good with C tier for Gillen Duo?
Oh no, 100%. I mean, I just don't think it's meta impacting or anything. Really good
Yeah.
effect. I mean,
He's
Yeah,
just
it's definitely
there.
not bad. It's not deserving of D tier by any means.
no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. He's just a little guy. He just hangs out. All right. Next, we have Mind Master, who is kind of like the psychic version of Substitute.
Yeah, and understandably so, he is still banned for good reason. Like, I just, with the 5Ds era being a thing and just psychic monsters just coming to fruition, they just keep releasing more, keep releasing more. It was bound that someone was going to break the card. I can't
Yeah.
specifically remember what broke the card in the first place because I've mainly been focusing on Edison and like I played Teledad a little bit and I've seen it in there and a couple other places, but like just the generic usage that it has to just summon a level 4 lower psychic type monster when those monsters Not only he's a tuner already, but summoning Psychic Commander, summoning Krebins, just like it's already so powerful.
Yeah, definitely.
And the fact that he's level 1, like that plays a lot into like 1-for-1, bam, like.
Yeah, there you go. I feel like this is. I'm sorry, Austin. Go ahead.
I'm really shocked somebody ain't found a way to just break it in Edison. I think it's the format before Tengu, if I remember right, that kind of broke the card. But I'm shocked that in Edison it ain't been explored more.
Yeah, at some point in the game's history, I don't remember when this card gets banned because of like multiple FTKs that happen. I don't remember what they are, but I'm kind of like you. I feel like it's just underexplored. I feel like this is probably a B tier card. It might even be A tier just because of what it does.
Yeah. I'll agree with that. So it looks like Mind Master got banned in 2011.
Okay, that's a lot longer ago than I thought. Okay, so it got banned
thinking,
like around Tengu format.
That's what I was thinking. I remember that hit. I'm pretty sure it was like right before Tengu format. Like it was around the time that Zombies won like nationals or something like that in the United States. Maybe I can't remember what it was. I just remember Zombies being really popular, and it won like a big tournament.
I see. All right, I need to go check out Joji Orlando's channel and find out why Mind Master is banned.
Yeah, no, I'm looking into it right now, just trying to see if there's anything more on it.
This is when we need
I don't know
Sasha.
What it enabled. I'm guessing it's an FTK. I mean, of course, it's Yu-Gi-Oh. Those are going to be riddled throughout everything.
Let's see. All right, I texted Sasha and asked him, do you know what FTK caused Mind Master to get banned? This man knows everything about Yu-Gi-Oh, so we'll put that one on the back burner. He'll probably respond pretty quickly. All right. So next up, we have Royal Magical Library.
Listen, man. When I was at Indy, I saw this deck at the very last table, and he was just going off. Like he was just having a ball. There's so many different variations of it because it's spell based, obviously. But I mean, more than anything else, I would probably put it in like a higher tier if we were talking about GOAT format. But this, I'm gonna say D, man. Honestly.
All right, he joins Electric Virus in the tier of shame.
Yeah, dude, I'm gonna get someone in the comments being like, "You don't even know the power of Royal Magical Library, dude." I'm the
when you get 3 counters.
Libraries.
Austin, you kind of think the same thing? I kind of agree too.
Yeah, so situational, so hard to get off, and yeah.
Yeah, I actually don't know how this card has never been banned in Yu-Gi-Oh's history.
It is kind of shocking.
It's kind of just been, I mean, its only purpose has been like Exodia since like release, right?
Yeah. I can't think of any other like OTK, FTKs with it other than Exodia.
Yeah, honestly, the one that I saw, it wasn't Exodia, it was decking his opponent out, which was very interesting to me.
That is interesting.
He's like stalling, just drawing as much as he could, and then putting things on the board. I wish I could have seen the rest of his list because I only saw it for just a minute, but he had it fully decked out. Like he had like the magical library sleeves and everything. Like
oh wow, he was cooking.
Like, you know how you can. Yeah, he was cooking. He was like, I waited my whole life for this. I admire.
YCS Indy 2024. It's my time.
I got 85th.
There's always next time. All right, next up, we have Jaugen the Spiritualist.
This is a card I can't believe it's not played more. I mean, not only does it stop special summoning, but the fact that you can ditch a card and destroy all your opponents. I think it's all special summon monsters, right?
Yeah.
I'm really shocked that it's not been played more. Like, I'm not saying it's like a busted card, but it is a really good stun card and almost a game changer card.
Well, so I see it in Modern a lot, like with these stupid like fusion decks that use like branded this, that, and the other. But when I look at retro formats, I really don't ever see this thing. Like of course, spell books, but that's way
Yeah.
after this. But I definitely agree with the with like it not being played enough. But at the same time, I think it's because you have to summon it in attack position most of the time. So it's
Yeah,
like you just
really
normal
cool.
summon, beat over it. Because I mean, what deck doesn't play normal summons? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, 100%.
I think that honestly equals it out very much. I think like let's say this card like could be special summoned off of a recruiter because it was a fairy. Like, sheesh, that'd be a little too good. You'd have two like at home Kristyas. Like, it'd be a little
Yeah,
wild, man. Like, consecrated light is one thing, but this thing, like, come on.
it's true. I think he is a good card, though. I think he's probably a B tier card.
I
I
agree with
agree.
that.
Just because of what he does. He is fairly strong. And you can pair him with Honest, which is hilarious when they try to swing over him.
Oh my god, that's the best. Like, just imagine this card. Just every time you summon this card, just I have Honest in hand. Like,
Yeah.
I want to know what that feels like.
I haven't done it with Jowgen, but I did it at Indy with Barrier Statue of the Heavens. So I imagine it feels similar.
You had me so you were trifling that day. I was like, "What is going on right now?" Do I see barrier statue in this man's graveyard?
I love that card. Okay. Freed the Brave Wanderer. This is the guy, 1700 Light Fairy. You banish 2 lights from your grave. Target a monster on the field with higher attack than him and destroy it once per turn.
So I like this card for its usage of you can do either field. Like, I like that a lot because you can manipulate your grave, return plays, like just there's a good amount of things you can do to like change the tide of the game in that sense, especially when he comes down and he's something you can use priority on as well. That's one of the best things about him. But the amount of times that I've been playing fairies and this will fuel the graveyard for return in the right way. Or like, let's say like you want to get a monster like off the board on your side of the field, like for whatever reason, you can do that if you want to. Like, I've seen someone um boost their D Alk to 1800 and then pop their own D Alk, and I was like,
That's true.
wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty big brain, actually, because then you can like recur back what you banished off of Freed if it's
Exactly.
like a Kristya or something. So that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I mean, I definitely call him a solid B tier for what he does. Like, solid, like higher B, closer to the bottom of A. Like, he is really cool. Like, if you just look at him as a card, he's a card. He's a monster that pops something on the field that has higher than attack than him, and he can do either player's field. If you look at it at that baseline, I definitely like think that's where he should be placed.
Yeah. Busher, you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm thinking B tier.
Okay. All right. The next one is definitely an S tier card, and this is Archlord Kristya.
Oh,
Yeah, we can go on.
I don't even know what could be said about this card. People just like saw it and were just like, Theedisonclubfanmail can be a thing now. And like, he's still so good in the Chaos Fairy variant too. Like, you'd be worried that there aren't enough fairies in Grave or something because you're playing a bunch of different stuff. Like, what if I have to discard a Battle Fader or something, or like it doesn't get banished for whatever reason? Like, I've seen some really weird niche scenarios,
I
but
have two.
I like Kristya a lot. The artwork is phenomenal. The card itself, like, I'm a personal fan of the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX manga, and this thing was a tyrant in the manga. So, like, she is Lord behold her. Like, she is fantastic.
And whenever you finally do manage to deal with it, it just comes back.
Yeah, it being able to come back is just like that's sure that's crazy. Don't get me wrong, but being able to just add a fairy back, well, the fact that you have to is just really funny to me. Like, the fact that it's a
Yeah.
mandatory effect is kind of wild, but I guess that's sort of how they balanced it in that sense.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely agree.
Like, you better
Okay.
have that Book of Moon, bro.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Next, I think we have another probably C tier card. This is Marshmallon. Kind of goes right along with Gillen Duo and Arcana Force the Fool.
Dude, I loved playing this card in Perfect Circle. It was the biggest fuck you because you played one Marshmallon and one Spirit Reaper, and they would just have to get over both of them in the same game, and it was just honestly wild.
And
But
the 1000 burn damage can come up for sure.
oh, absolutely. I like this card a lot. I get why people play Spirit Reaper. Being aggressive with that card is absolutely wild because like they have to waste something on it. It's great. But Marshmallow, I haven't really seen it see play. And like I asked a couple people when I first started playing fairies, like, why does no one play Marshmallow? And they're, well, you don't get the effect if it's not flipped up during battle. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense. At that point, is literally just, oh, it can't be destroyed by battle. Whoop de doo.
Yeah.
So I definitely can see why people don't play it. I would definitely say it's like, it being a legacy card, like cool, it has the lore of Yugi and everything, and they keep like adapting to it. So I mean, it has that surrounding it, but its usage as a card, I mean, I'd say a C tier. Like it can't be destroyed by battle. Cool, and it happens to fit into light decks, fairy decks.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a C tier card. I mean, it's not game breaking or anything. I actually have a story of where this card decked me out. It's funny you said Spirit Reaper. Actually, was playing a dude who's playing some kind of like chaos deck. Got rid of the Spirit Reaper finally, playing Black Wings, and I was just out of material. Had like 5 or 6 cards left, and he just decked me out with it. It was so frustrating not being able to deal with it.
Yeah.
Bro, I would have just extended the handshake and been like, props to you for playing the card, dog. Like,
Yeah. I remember so aggravated in the moment. Like, who plays this?
for real.
Yeah, I never played that one for the Kristya Sworn Mirror, specifically because you can orange light the damage effect, which can come up in that.
Yep.
So that was why I played Gillen Duo.
Yeah, I think Gillen Duo is like, if we're placing Gillen Duo like in this card side by side, it's just leagues better in the sense that like you can really like do something with some of Gillen Duo's effects. Like I'm not saying
Gillen Duo
Marshmallow's
can also like
necessarily-
attack for game. Like 1700's real.
Yeah, 1700 is real. Like, just what if Marshmallon had 2K attack? All right, let's have a discussion. Like,
Oh my god. That would be unhinged.
yeah, completely unhinged.
All right, next up we have Ojama Blue.
So this is something I have personal
S tier, yes.
Yeah,
It's
hands down.
That they couldn't even give it an effect. They had to keep it. That's how busted it is. I mean, this card had an effect. Breaking.
Wait, no, Ojama Blue does have an effect.
Does he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ojama Blue and Red both do.
I thought you were just kidding. Yeah, this guy actually does have an effect. His effect's actually kind of good.
So funny. So it says, when this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can add 2 Ojama cards from your deck to your hand.
I actually forgot about that. Wow.
Yeah, so the combo is you play Black Garden in normal blue and run it into the token and search 2 cards.
Wow.
Yeah, it is actually really cool, honestly, because you can search Trio with this thing, and it's ouch.
Yeah.
But that being said, there's a lot of support that is out in Edison regarding like Chaz Princeton's deck from the show. So like how you can pair like arm dragons with Ojamas and stuff like that, and Ojama Country, a bunch of other things are out, and Delta Hurricane will really sneak up on you. Like, don't get me wrong, you're probably not going to see this deck at like a high tournament by any means. Maybe someone will bring it to a RBET, like a stun variant, just to be funny or something, or like an online tourney. And if you don't know how to play against it, it can really screw you up. Like they have a card called Oja Magic, and it just says if it's sent to the graveyard, you can add a multiple of Ojama cards to your hand, and that's sent to the graveyard for any reason. You could discard it and trigger the effect. It's kind of wild.
Yeah. The best combo with that is pitch Oja Magic off of Snipe Hunter.
Absolutely. Ojama Country paired with this card and the other ones is actually kind of wild. Being able to swap the attack and defense of all the monsters on the field. Just like I watched someone swing the other day with an Ancient Fairy Dragon that had 3K attack because of that deck, and it was hilarious.
That is hilarious. I need to start cooking these Ojama decks, man.
Yeah, I mean, and they have a board wipe. Like, it's like Battery Man OTK, but a little bit better. Like, it's cool.
we think C tier on this card. It's definitely playable. I mean,
for what it does, if we're looking at it for what it does, man, like for the fact that you can just add any 2 cards of your archetype from your deck to your hand. Cards,
are we about to move Ojama Blue higher?
I think we're going to be, dog. Like, I feel like this is
All
generically
right.
good in the sense of, hey, this adds 2 of my combo pieces to my hand, and we're not even in 2011 yet, but I'm going to search real quick. Like,
That's true. That's true. Okay. All right. Butcher, you okay with Ojama Blue in B tier?
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. All right. Next up, we have Ethan's Pride and Joy, and this is Light and Darkness Dragon.
oh God, I can't even. I'm just gonna. I'm gonna be so biased talking about this card. Like, I just need to like dip into a little bit of a backstory. Okay, Chaz in the show, he's the Ojama master, whatever. I was never really a fan of that Chaz that much. But if you go read the GX manga, the story of this card and how like he just lives in his family's shadow and he just finds this card one day and it just helps him like overcome and become his own person. It's just like so awesome. So if that didn't already have me hooked, like the fact that Konami kind of pushed it out and they put it in the Light and Darkness power pack and they made it like super accessible to people, like the first deck I ever played in Yu-Gi-Oh, trust me, it was bad. Don't get me wrong, it was bad, but it was Frognark. It was what
Yeah.
I had at the time, and I had one copy of this card, and I played it until it was bent in half. So I love this card. The artwork, the niche interactions, bro, with its effect are just wild. Like, I don't know if you know, but like, so if it has not enough attack to negate again, the card is still going to attempt to negate. And that ruins so many scenarios. Like if Lad is on the field and say Heavy Storm activates, Chainlink 2 is going to be Lad. So you can't Starlight Road. Like it's honestly wild. It's a crazy card.
Yeah, I always forget that that card's actually mandatory. I kind of feel like this guy is an A tier card.
Oh, he absolutely is. I mean, like, dude, if Rognak, he really like breaks open this card with Mausoleum Monarchs. Running triple Lad and just like oppressing your opponent with this is just it's crazy because like you get rid of it and then he drops another one and it's just like fuck what do I do? Like this
Yeah.
card is a tank. Like you
How
have
many
to.
times can you get over Light and Darkness Dragon?
Well, exactly. People will argue and be like, "Oh, well, it's not as good as it seems because you all you have to do is bait it out." Okay, but what about card advantage? Like, like
Yeah.
what happens when you drop another one and you just wasted 4 activations to get over this thing, and they got back a monster from it? Like, and
Yeah.
if you're playing this card really skillfully and just keeping it and it alone on the board because it nukes your board when it dies, it's it can be really, really oppressive in that sense because like your opponent's probably already set up for the scenario that you are going to out it and they already have a game plan forwarding it. Like the card alone is more than what the card is, if that makes sense. Like it alone offers you so much to be able to move the game forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a Frog Monarch list I played last summer where I played Triple Lad and like Tiva, Anonymous Action Unit, and Jinzo. So you would
Oh
like
my god.
summon Jinzo, make them fight to get over Jinzo, then drop Lad, then they fight to get over Lad, and then you just bring back Jinzo.
Oh my god, that's like actually so funny. I love autonomous action units so much. That card is not played at all, really, but it's really cool what it is.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Austin, you think Lad is probably an A tier card?
Oh, definitely A tier. I mean, if somebody wanted to say S tier, I don't think I would argue too much. I
I
mean,
wouldn't argue S tier. I just don't want to be like, oh, I'm biased because Vlad's my favorite card.
I mean, we can
I mean,
put this in S tier. I mean, if you're playing a rogue deck and there's a Lad on the field, I feel like you just lose.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like you really need if they drop this, you need card advantage already established.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine
Like,
with putting Lad in S tier, honestly. I think it probably is an S tier card.
and like I said, the chain blocking. Like people are like, oh, well, if you have a lad and it like doesn't have counters, it's useless at that point. I'm like, bro, I've abused the fact that it has to activate. Like there are so
Yeah.
many ways to get around situations. Like
Yeah, I agree. Okay, next up we have Ancient Fairy Dragon, who's oddly enough only ever really used as a wall, and unless you're playing Ojamas, I guess.
yeah, yeah. It's funny you say that. I like AFD a lot. I definitely wish he had like or she rather. I mean, like in the show, it's a girl. I definitely wish she had like a higher attack stat, maybe 25 instead of 21. But I mean, it is a wall for sure. I mean, 3,000 is nothing to sneeze at, and RDA can't get over it, except for but with its effect. So, um, and then that's the highest you have, like unless you're playing like Road Warrior, who happens to have 3,000 attack points.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
but I haven't really seen his effects be used very often when it is. Like, I think I'm not going to say it's niche by any means, but it's definitely uncommon. Like you said, people use this as a wall. I don't really see them use the effect that much.
Yeah, I play him in my Lightsworn extra deck as a wall. I've used the effect like a couple times. Like sometimes you'll like special a Lyla, hit a back row, then tribute for Celestia, which is kind of cool. But usually it's almost always a wall card.
Yeah, I did see it in a very odd deck. They were abusing the fact that it pops a field spell, and they of course pop their own Gear Town because why would they not?
Yeah, that's true. I feel like he's
I think
probably a B tier card.
yeah, I was about to say I feel like it's a solid B tier. I can definitely see like later in Yu-Gi-Oh why it got banned in the first place. The field spell thing is just a little too cracked when spell cards just become such a ridiculous thing in Yu-Gi-Oh later on.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, next one is Ryko Lightsworn Hunter, and this is definitely an S tier card. This is one of the faces of the format.
I mean, he's pretty much number one. Like, I don't really think you can have much more that is as great as he is. Like, he pops something, which is optional if you want to be like tactical and strategic with it. And then like the mill, it's like so many things in the format benefit from the graveyard. I mean, if we're talking about any card that has impacted Edison probably more than anything else in terms of generic use, like it's Ryko. Like it is.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
changed the way decks are built in the format. Like you have Ryko Hamster Caius. Like that is a package now, and it just
yes,
works.
yes, yeah, and
And the
just like
thing that I
making
wanted,
things miss timing, Doofrog and Dialk too. I mean, that's so strong.
it's extremely strong. And the thing that I wanted to say more than anything is like the reason I think this card is so impactful is because people have fear in them when you set a card on the field now. If you go first and T set, the first thing they think is, fuck, that's a Ryko. If I summon a monster, it's just going to get popped. If I set a back row, they're just going to flip Ryko and pop the back row and then go off. Like, it changes the way you play entirely. I can't tell you how many times I've just passed until like I draw something that can out it rather than to committing to the board, because like I'm gonna be real, swinging into Ryko with either D prison or bottomless set it's painful. Like, because I mean they can protect it at that point with the D prison, or like if you choose to do something else, you got the bottomless waiting for you, and then anything that you set because your normal summon's gone, they just popped, gone. Like it's a way to be so aggressive.
Yeah, so many reasons that make this card be an S tier of the format.
He's
All right.
definitely he's the king doggy.
Yeah, he is top dog for sure. Soul of Purity and Light.
um I've seen a lot of controversy on this card. A lot of people are just like, card's not good enough, don't play it, blah blah. Like, don't get me wrong, like its only real usage is for manipulating the grave, either for Kristya or return plays. And that's fine and dandy. Also, my favorite way to use it is banish to summon Herald. Synchro!
Yes.
So like that's fun to do. I was very on the fence about playing multiple copies of it when I did play fairies, just because like seeing two in hand is just I don't
Yeah,
know if
you
I want
definitely
that.
never want to see that many early.
No, absolutely not. Like maybe late game when I have the fuel to do so. And don't get me wrong, he has saved me late game. Like I've had like 8 fairies in grave, and I had 2 of these in my hand and 1 Kristya, and sure as hell, like there we go, that's it. But
Yeah,
um I definitely think he's more of a C tier card. He
yeah, I think
himself,
so as well.
his effect just isn't super useful.
Yeah, I think C is a good place for him.
Yeah, I think if it was just a generic like all your opponent's monsters lose 300 attack, just in general, like that would be
Yeah.
great. But the during their battle phase only, it's just really.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. Next is Judgment
Also, give it
Dragon,
a
which we have
hollow.
to put in
Give it
S
a
tier.
hollow already. It only has commons. Give it a hollow.
Yes, yes, yes. Before we go on the next card, please, I want the lost art of this card as an ultra rare. Man, it would look so good.
It would. It would. I love the lost art of this card. I have the original text box Japanese version. It's glorious.
Yeah, so clean. All right. We have the King Dragon himself, Judgment Dragon, who is definitely S tier.
Yeah, probably top 5 monsters in Edison format in general, just for like the fact that it's not once per turn and it's just absolutely unbelievable. Like they were like, Black Rose nukes the field, but JD, at least you keep the boy. Like you get to keep him, you get to abuse him, you get to like he's such a threat. If your opponent takes him after you've set things on your board, it's like, oh well, shit, I shouldn't have done that. Like.
Yeah. Yeah, this card like instills fear in everyone that you play against because they're constantly looking at your graveyard. And the games where you go like summon Lyla, hit 3 names on turn 1, they just already know the game is over most of the time.
Exactly. He's just like Ryko in the sense that he instills fear. Like I was watching Fraser's videos the other day, and he said something that really spoke to me. Like, once someone sees one D prison, they think you have D prisons for the rest of the game. And I think that logic applies to a lot of other cards as well, and definitely JD. Like, even if your opponent doesn't know you're on Lightsworn, if they see you have one, they have that thought that's just like, "Fuck, they could be on Lightsworn. Like this could be JD coming down really soon." And the
Yeah.
one thing that I love so much about this card is you have 2 copies of Gold Sark. If you open those and just guarantee yourself victory in a couple turns, there's
Yeah.
nothing they can do.
Yeah. It is such a good feeling like when you turn 1 double gold sark and then like charge recharge and you just see the life in your opponent's eyes just slowly start to dim as like turns go
Like,
by
shit.
and the clock gets closer to that second standby phase and you're just like you better have like road judgment because I'm summoning both of them.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's honestly just so cool. Like not only is the artwork phenomenal and like the set itself, like one of the things that I love so much about Light of Destruction is it really is Konami's like only set that they've done where like they gave us literally everything. Like the only thing they didn't give us was charge. Like everything is in that set. Oh, you want to build Lightsworn? Here you go. Buy this one set. Just that's it. Like
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All
yeah,
right.
hands down F tier.
Yeah, for sure. Next up we have an odd one. This is Banisher of the Radiance.
I have not seen this card played since GOAT format. He's cool for what he is. I think the 2000 booty or no, that's wrong. I'm thinking of another card.
Yeah, you're
Banisher of the
thinking of a guy
Radiance.
that does like basically the same thing. Banisher of the Light.
Yes. Banisher of the Light. There we go. Yeah. Okay, so Banisher of the
Yeah.
Radiance. Yeah. I saw this card in side decks when I first started playing Edison. Obviously you can't summon off of a recruiter. So I really wanted to play in Fairy really bad, but I saw it was 16. And I was like, damn it. But I think the effect can be definitely very oppressive early game. Like siding, I understand why people would side it in. They put it in hoping that it's going to stun their opponent. Because I mean, like you got to think like dimensional fissure in 6 Sams or Glad Beasts. Like it's really like it's scary. Like when you're going into that, and this is a
It is.
pseudo version. Like it's on legs. It's dim fizz on legs. So it's definitely has its applications. I think the attack stat is fine. It hits over most things. Obviously, I wouldn't want it to be higher because then it would just be like terrifying.
Yeah, we're lucky
But
it's not higher than what it is.
I think it's a solid like lower B tier, high C tier card.
Yeah, I think it's probably a high C tier.
Yeah.
All right. So next up we have Tuningware.
Where did Austin go?
His daughter was being fussy, so he dipped.
Okay, got you. Okay, I was like,
Yeah,
hold
he
on, there was
texted me a
another
minute
voice
ago.
here.
Yeah, so we're rolling this thing the rest of the time.
Got you.
Yeah, so Tuningware just doesn't really see any play within the format. There was actually like the first time I've seen this card played was at the RBET last weekend, and there was like a Machina quick draw deck that played 3 Tuningware.
Yes, in Machine Dupe.
Yeah, so it is cool to see it be played.
It is honestly really cool. I mean, like a lot of people are playing like stuff like Legacy of Yatagarasu right now, and you just have trainable traps and to like kind of fool your opponent. That's another thing that a lot of people have been touching on is like, you set 2 back row, your turn 1, your opponent's like, well, fuck, what do I do? And then one of them is Legacy, so you could just get that draw. So I think draw power is definitely very important, and I could see the usage of this card for sure, especially in something like Quick Draw, where hand advantage is everything in that deck. Like, you play so many discard cards, like your traps and etc. Like Quick Draw as well, like be having to discard for it. And I definitely think that this will like fills that gap a little bit, especially if you multiple copies. Like Machine Dupe just makes you go stupid crazy on this. Also, you could summon Road Warrior and summon one of these off of it when you swing, which is really really cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Road Warrior is such a cool card.
I remember the first time I saw this card, I can't even remember what it was. Hold on, let me look up this YouTube video really quick. It was Tuningware OTK, and it's all the way. It's an old YouTube channel. Let's see. It was Asian Persuasion. Yeah, it was Asian Persuasion. Years ago. He's playing on a freaking Crystal Beast Hobby League mat, and he was running this deck, and I had taken a lot of interest in it because I was very into say at that point with 5Ds and everything. But I think the card is honestly really really cool. It fares really well with like Junk Synchron and other Synchrons, of course. That's like its main usage more than anything else.
Yeah. I think this is probably a C tier, maybe B tier.
I could see C tier. I would say like maybe lower B tier if anything, but C tier probably comfortably.
Yeah, I'm good with that. All right, Kuraz the Light Monarch, famous for making KFC famous.
Does not see enough play. I love the card, and it just does not see enough play.
Yeah, I agree. In the KFC deck, being able to like pop Gear Town, draw cards, it's very, very strong. And I'm honestly surprised it doesn't see more play than what it actually does. I feel like this is probably a B tier card for sure.
Oh, I agree. I think a lot of people choose not to play it just because it can't attack the turn it's summoned in general. And I'm just like, why? Like, I think the card, like, we're in slow enough of a format that, like, yes, you have to attack to end the game. Well, most of the time.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's any reason to not play the card, itself. Like, it has that handicap for a reason because it is a very strong effect. Essentially, this thing is multiple copies of Gadgetron Dragon. Like,
yeah, it's
those
very true.
Gonna attack.
That's true. Yeah, definitely. I think B tier here.
Yeah, and also the ulti.
The ulti.
Looks
yes.
So good.
All right, we have next up we have Shining Angel, and I think when I did the dark tier one, I think we put Mystic Tomato in B tier just because they're narrow in what they do, but they're still solid cards.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think my favorite part about recruiters in older formats is like people don't really explore everything because like, who's going to go and put 1500 or less on a filter and then add the attribute and see what every single card does in all of its applications. So I think that it's honestly like really cool being generically just summon like whatever happens to fall into that category. Like when I would explain people how to play fairies and stuff, they'd be like, "Why do you run DD Warrior Lady?" And I'm like, "Bro, because you can summon it off a Shining Angel." And they're like, "But it's not a fairy. It doesn't matter."
It just has to be a light, 1500 or less.
Yeah, it's a utility card, and it's honestly really really cool, and you could be very strategic with it in the ways that you use it. But I would say like a higher B tier, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, good with that. Okay, this one's is an interesting one. This is Elemental Hero Captain Gold. Searches
So
for
my thoughts.
Skyscraper.
Yeah, so my thoughts on this card. It's cool that it stays on the field when Skyscraper's on the field. You know, it's a 2100 attacker. It's cool. I like it. I love me some Blade Edge, and it's like very Blade Edge inspired. It's like Blade Edge with a cape, essentially.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. It has one use, pretty much one, which is getting Skyscraper. And some hero beat lists don't even be playing that. Like I've noticed a lot of them that just don't. Especially when I first started playing the format, like I noticed like it really didn't come into fruition until a little bit later. Where it got really popular.
Yeah.
I would say, I mean, you could put him in B, but I definitely think he's more of a C tier card. Like, yes, he
I
searches
think so
Skyscraper,
too.
but I don't think he's that pivotal to the deck. I don't see hero beat decks winning because of Skyscraper or Captain Gold. I see them winning because of Gemini Spark.
Yeah, that's true. An
Gemini
absolute
Spark and
zero.
Miracle Fusion is just a ridiculous combo.
Yeah. Yeah. I think C tier is perfect for him. Aaron Lightsworn Monk is next.
Being one of the only cards in the format that does what I'm pretty sure she's the only card in the format that does what she does. Like, you have Mystic Swordsman level 2, and you have Six Samurai Iro and a couple other things that like kill when they swing into a defense position monster. But she is just so good for the exact situation that you explained earlier about swinging into a defense position monster and using that synchro to your advantage to like switch the battle position and use something that is a lot weaker than a boss monster to get rid of that boss monster.
Yeah, I
Now,
agree.
I won't say that she's good into Ryko, obviously, because it sucks when you swing in and it's a Ryko, because the Ryko still flips and mills and you still get the pop, and it's kind of annoying, and then they just get the Ryko back. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
definitely
She's
think
good. Like,
herself.
I think she's probably better now than she has been. At Indy, I really got to see the power of this card into the Amaryllis matchup. They just have no way to play around Aaron. Just continuously sending back Amaryllis to to the main deck.
Yeah. I can see this being like a lower S, higher A. I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
like it's the craziest thing ever. I think that the Mill 3 is nice. It's just like when I do see her come down, it's usually just herself or one other monster.
Yeah.
But she is really, really good.
Yeah. I think A tier is a good place for her. Okay. Light End Dragon.
So, here comes my personal bias again. Of course, I love Dark End. I love Light End. They're from the manga. They're cool. This card is honestly really awesome. It's just people don't play it enough, but it's understandable why they don't, because look at it again. Level 8 has to be non-tuner light monsters. So it's just like Avenging Night Parshath. Probably sees even less play, I would say. I think its effect is a little niche, but I think it can definitely come up in certain situations. I mean, them losing 1500 attack and defense, the until the end phase thing doesn't really matter because you're trying to swing over whatever you're swinging into. But
that's true.
I don't think that there's anything in the format that this particularly affects that couldn't already be dealt with by something else. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't add any flair to anything.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's not like it's an actual like light version of Dark End where it's like lose attack, send a monster, which would be really cool. But
Yeah, and I think the thing that sucks about it is the fact that it still does lose 500 attack and defense. Like, I know it's fitting to the theme and everything, but the fact that it
yeah,
does still do that, like, maybe it would be a little bit better if it said when this card swings into your opponent's monster, their monster loses 1500 attack and defense. You know what? If it said that, I'd be totally down. But the fact that you lose attack and defense as well is just like, really? Like, I don't know about the viability here. I just feel like you
yeah,
could do better with something else.
yeah. Kristya Sworn plays this card to specifically kill JD in the mirror. That's like its only application.
Yeah, no, that's what I heard that. I can't remember who told me that. I think it was actually Ron Lewis, because I had absolutely no clue why people were playing it, and then he kind of informed me of that. I was like, oh, okay, well that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, that's like the only reason, because like Colossal Fighter, you could miss attack. Like Avenging Knight Parshath, put it in defense, but JD has 26 defense. That's like the main reason why people play it.
Okay, yeah, that
And
actually
I
makes a
guess
lot of
like
sense.
it kills blue eyes and stuff like that. But
It's
I
a
think it
blue
probably
eye
goes
killer.
next to. I think she goes with Ancient Sacred Wyvern.
Yeah, I agree with that. If anything, like, where do we put Ancient Sacred again?
Ancient Sacred is in C tier.
I mean, if I'm being real, I think this is probably a D, if anything.
Womp
I could see it
womp.
comfortably being a C, but like, you're gonna see this card less than Ancient Sacred and Avenging Knight Parshath. Like you said,
That's very true. That's very
it has
true. Yeah.
one application.
Yeah. That's true. All right, down to D tier you go.
That's so, it makes me so sad. It's such a beautiful card. The artwork's
It is.
amazing.
It really is. Herald of Purple Light.
Oh, dude, so Orange Light's obviously the star of the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But seeing people get silly with the green and the purple is actually really, really cool, because I mean, this is gonna sound crazy, man, but like, if we're looking at these cards for what they are, like, just look at it as you do the same thing that Herald of Orange Light does. You discard 2, and then you negate a spell or a trap. That
Yeah.
is extremely good. Unfortunately, in the format that it's in, it doesn't come up that often, because card advantage is such a big thing. You know what I mean? Like, giving up a
Yeah.
lot for that. Like, the only reason that Orange Light is that good is because you fuel the grave for Kristya. So you have a reason to, want to discard stuff like that. But
Absolutely.
discarding, you know, so much to stop one thing, it's got to be worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I definitely think these cards are good in their own right. Purple for sure. Like, stopping a trap card, dude. Like,
Yeah, stopping Icarus attack, getting a nice little 2 for 2 there.
stopping a return from the different dimension, and they paid the cost. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. What do you think? You think this is a B tier? Or
I
higher?
could say lower B tier, lower B tier, maybe top of C, but B comfortably. I think that's where both the green and the purple will land.
Yeah, I think so. All right, we have Lumina, Lightsworn Summoner, who probably just immediately should go to S because she's at 1.
Yeah, she's at 1 for a reason, man. Like, I watched so many videos from the format before Edison where Lightsworn Zombies was a thing and everything was just full power, and I was just like, what is going on? I can't handle this right now. Like,
Yeah,
it's too much.
she's a problem when she stays up on the field multiple turns, especially paired with stuff like Garoth, and yeah, that's.
Yeah, she just
I
gets
finally
you to
got my
JD
champion
so
pack
quick.
one.
And then at the same time of getting you to JD quicker, she is an expendable resource, just constantly bringing back bodies.
Yeah, probably the main reason why like Charge of the Light Brigade ends up getting limited alongside herself. Like, just really insane cards.
Yeah, no, like, I mean, I think the number one search target is definitely Lumina, probably off charge, unless you already have it in hand.
Yeah, for sure.
Not much more can really be said about her. She's just goated. Like,
yeah. All right, we have Tiva. I love this card.
Video game promo. Let's go.
Expensive video game promo.
Yeah. No, the buyout is not going back down because people are like, I'm not looking through my bulk for that.
Yeah.
I honestly think that this is such a cool card. Like, not only is the artwork so cool, but like, we're talking about the effect itself. Just stunning your opponent for that. It's similar to like Battle Fader, or having something like Spirit Reaper to kind of keep them, like, ward them off. Like, it's threatening roar on legs, and I think that's really cool. I think splashed into Monarch decks or what, it could be really cool. I wish the card was level 4, and I wish it just said, if when this card is summoned, the next turn you're going to
crazy.
Crazy. It'd be so crazy. But I think it's a cool card. I think Probably C tier. I think it has about the same applications as like the other things that aren't used as much. So you could
Yeah.
argue that it would go to D, but I think C tier is probably comfortable.
Yeah, I think so too. Sky Scourge Enrise.
Oh god, this fucking card, man. This guy's Scourge Monster is just absolutely terrifying.
Yes.
This
Yeah,
is
they are.
obviously, of course, probably one of. I would say he's probably the worst one. Like the other two are really, really good in their own rights. His requirements are just so awkward sometimes, especially in Chaos Fairies. Like, because they play the one of Battle Fader, that's already banished. You
Yeah.
play the Caius. Cool, you got to get the Caius in there, and and if they already know what you're on, say you're playing this at like a local level, the card becomes even worse because people start playing around it.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
I think that being able to remove a face-up monster on the field is cool. Obviously, you can't attack when you do that, so it has its applications here and there. But I would say it's probably a C tier card, honestly.
Yeah, I think its summoning requirements unfortunately push it down the tier list.
Yeah, that and it would be really cool if it could just remove from play a monster. Why like the fact that it has to be face up, like what you can't remove my Ryko still. Like damn, fuck, I
Yeah, you have
can't.
to get rid of so much, and that's all it can do.
Yeah. I'm not saying
Yeah,
it's bad in the worst way, but it's mediocre at the least.
yeah, I agree. Magical Merchant. Don't really see
Dude,
this guy being played a lot, but he is a good
no.
card.
So I've seen him being played recently though, and it's kind of interesting. Like I can't remember off the top of my head what I saw it in. I don't remember if it was Vayu or if it was a
Oh,
quick
it
draw
is
list.
Vayu. It is
It is
Vayu
Vayu.
with Monster
Okay.
Reincarnation.
Yeah, I honestly like this card a lot. Like he was one of my favorites in Goat always, but like seeing him played in Edison is honestly really really cool. And for something like Vayu, they benefit like so much off of this because like they kind of want all of their cards, all their monsters in the grave in the first place.
Yeah,
Um, and they play enough to where like you might hit a couple before you get to a spell or trap, and it's just like all of their spell and traps are so impactful. That card is good for that deck because that deck is terrifying. Everything in that deck does something, and you don't really want to see value in your hand per se, like as much as you want to see it in the graveyard. So this kind of gives you a little bit of like fill to that gap in that sense.
yeah. I think this is probably an A tier card.
Yeah, I will agree with that. A tier, honestly.
I think when this guy
Um,
resolves and it goes deep, I think it really is an A tier card for sure. It might be high end B tier, but I think it could go in A tier.
I think it go. Yeah, I think it could go like lower A tier, high end B tier.
Yeah. Okay. Magical Android.
You know, if we had another five to play, I'm sure that we would. Um, I like it late game. Getting back your life points. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's another generic five. I sometimes just want to play double Cataster if I'm gonna play two fives because like Cataster is just such a ridiculous card sometimes in simplified game states. So why not play two? But I get the reasoning behind this. 2400 is something very nice. Like it's not 25, but 24 beats over certain things.
Yeah,
And
it gets over
I have
armed
found
wings.
myself, yeah, I've seen myself going into situations where I'm not going into this card because I want life points. I'm going into this card because I need a body that has a higher attack points and I don't want to use Cataster at the moment. So
Yeah.
I definitely think with its applications and what it does for you, I would call it a B tier card.
I think so too. Yeah,
Also, I like
it's
the
just
fact that
there.
it's
It's
light.
nothing
Like, if you,
crazy.
if you do make it in something like a light deck, you can honest the motherfucker. Like, that's
Yeah.
hilarious. Like,
Yes. I've done that one time, and it is funny when that happens.
it's like, oh yeah, honest magical android, in phase, gain six.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, so
and
next
having
up we
a
have
Herald ruler on the field at the same time.
yeah, yeah, that's true. Or if you have double Android, you just gain 24 every turn.
Yeah, wonderful.
All right, so Garoth Lightsworn Warrior. This is probably the first Lightsworn. I think is probably a little lower on the list just because it's kind of a vanilla by himself.
Yes, he's
But when
more
you
of a
do have him
utility
with
card.
others, he's kind of one of the best ones. But I kind of feel like he's probably a B tier card.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, he's definitely not bad, but he's not one of the better ones. So I think B tier is a good place for him.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I don't really have much more to say about him. He's hit or miss because, like, Lightsworn is by no means a bad deck, but it is definitely one of those decks where you can have a bad day and just not mill correctly. And the amount of times that I see people not mill anything off of Garoth so that they can activate his effect in the first place is I see that a lot, like mostly spell cards and trap cards.
Yeah, yeah, definitely been there a few times.
It's unfortunate when it happens.
All right.
I think it should be 1900 though. The fact that he's 1850 makes me mad.
Yeah, same. All right. Next one is DD Warrior Lady, and I feel like this is definitely either S tier or A tier.
Okay, so like I said, we're trying to look at this in the bias of like what does the card do, just itself, and honestly, like lower S tier makes sense for me. I think that always pairing it with the fact that it was in fairies and being summoned off Shining Angel, I think it makes it a little bit too overhyped in that sense. But if you look at the card for what it is, it can out anything in the whole entire format. Maybe
Yes.
besides like Cataster. Like it can out anything. Like people, I've seen people just run one in their decks sometimes. I've seen people side it like DD Assailant as well. Um, it's a great card. Like it has a lot of utility. I like the fact that it's a 3. It's really cool seeing it in Disaster Dragon, just because Totem you can run it in pair with Totem Dragon. So like you make sure you banish every single time, so Totem Dragon can still go off. It's really really cool. Because I mean,
Yeah,
like
I agree.
when you're going into a game, like I think my favorite thing about this card, my favorite thing, it's similar to Ryko. It makes your opponent play completely differently because they're thinking that it is one. They're going to swing into it. They're probably going to take some damage. That 1600 booty ain't nothing. It's nothing to sneeze at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. It's definitely true.
And then you have the option immediately to banish. It's wonderful. Like you could leave it up as a wall, or you can get rid of the problem.
Yeah, on top of being searchable by Rhoda.
Yeah, like that's honestly my favorite part, being able to be searchable. It's like, oh no, he searched DD Warrior Lady. Well, now that I know, I can play against it better. Sure, but you still have to get rid of it. Like
Yeah, you have to deal with it eventually.
exactly. And if turns pass, people forget card knowledge all the time. Hell, every time I trap dust shoot somebody, I probably forget maybe a turn after sometimes. Like besides maybe one like essential card that I saw in their hand,
Yeah,
and you can easily forget that they have this card. And then they set something, and you're just like, shit.
yeah, yeah. Done that a few times too. All right, we're slowly getting toward the end here. We're almost there. Next up, we have Arcanite Magician, and I think this guy is an S tier synchro.
Oh, I agree completely. I wish that it was generic, but also at the same time, if it was, it would honestly be too good. Like
Yeah,
the
you
fact
have
that you
people
can
like
use,
literally playing instant fusion just to make this card.
dude, I love instant fusion zombies just for this reason. Like having Krebins in hand with instant fusion, doing Musician King, going to Arcanite, and like summoning it in defense position and just popping 2 things on the board is just wonderful. Like they can't bottomless it because the counters have not been applied yet on summon. Like it's honestly like so fun to play. Like the art, I play Yu-Gi-Oh for aesthetic. I love the artwork of cards, but like the artwork is fantastic. Even the assault mode version of this card isn't really that bad. I've seen like a turbo deck with it, and it was honestly really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Um, but the card itself is it's fantastic. I can't even imagine if it was generic. I
Oh,
can't
me
because
either. Yeah.
it's just the fact that it's not. There's no handicap to it besides the fact that you have to use a spellcaster. Like, if you don't want to use the counters, cool. I have 2400, and then if you do want to use them, cool. You have 2 generic pops. They don't got to be face up. They don't got to be monsters. They can be whatever you want them to be. It is extremely. It's cool. It's like Ab-Zero in a way. It's defensive and offensive. It's really cool in that sense.
Yeah, I agree. Sure.
S tier for sure, in my opinion. Absolutely.
Definitely. Okay, Elemental Hero Prisma, aka Gladiator Beast's best friend.
Yeah. Prisma's cool. Seeing the decks that get played around him. Like, I think another thing that I first talked to Ron Lewis about, he was playing Prisma Box when I first met him. And the deck is really, really cool. You know, the fact that it abuses the card as much as it does. And it kind of just makes like a way for fusion decks to like have a step up. Like even in modern, recently in modern in the past year, it had gotten bought out before it got a reprint because it was still making waves and coming back and like being a good card again.
Yeah, there's always
Definitely
a
think it's a
Prisma combo.
solid. I definitely think it's a solid B tier card. You could argue and put it in A tier, but I think for the fact that it doesn't get played as much and its effect is like, while its effect is good, it's not like game breaking.
Yeah,
I definitely think it's more of a B tier card.
I agree with that. Okay, Ojama Red, who I feel like is probably going to join his buddy Ojama Blue in B tier. I feel like this is a pretty good card. I mean, it just lets you summon 4 monsters from your hand for free.
Like, yeah, like we just look at it for what it is. It literally says summon 4 monsters from your hand. Oh,
Yeah, like,
that's
oh, okay.
that's totally balanced.
Yeah, so like Ojama Blue just snowballs into red, and then you end up getting Ojama Hurricane, and then that's it.
That's it. Yeah, it's like, oh, you
Yeah,
didn't have the road. I'm sorry that you didn't have the Starlight Road. I really am. Like,
yeah,
I'm gonna beat you down with Ojamas now. You know, they can play Solidarity in their deck for what they do. You know, they can. I've seen a couple variants play Shrink and etc. Just because Ojama Country flips the attack and defense. Like,
yeah,
it's that deck is wild. It can do some crazy things. You know, it's still very unexplored. I've seen it explored by my locals and a couple people on YouTube, but like nothing super like impactful yet. So I'm hoping that people start cooking with it. It would be really cool to see that.
yeah. It would. I'd love to see someone cook Ojamas. All right, Thunder King Rai-Oh.
Oh God, what an S tier champ, man! Card is card needs a reprint. Is what it needs.
It does need a reprint badly.
It's just this card existing makes me not even pay attention to Doom Caliber Knight at all. The fact that Rai-Oh isn't mandatory, but it also, for the decks that do search, it just shuts them off entirely. Stops Whirlwind, stops arguably one of the best normal summons in the format, which is Stratos. Like it stops so many things, and
Yeah,
the niche scenarios where you'll run into stuff like with trap cards about like what it can stop, like regarding summoning, because obviously it can't stop summoning by effects. It has to be like, people don't like when I use this phrase, but inherent summons.
yeah, like a
uh
synchro summon or chaos
yes,
sorcerer.
yeah, anything that like doesn't activate necessarily. I think any good applications, and being 1900, man, like it's ridiculous. Like the only other thing that can crash with it is what, Neos Alias,
Yeah, Neos
um,
Alias.
Assault Beast, if they're
Yeah.
playing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this card a lot. A lot of times I do board this card in Kristya Sworn. I played in a 3v3 at BBG a few months ago where I literally went undefeated. I lost one game in all my rounds of Swiss. And every time I sided this in, it was so strong. Like I played against the zombie player and rode Thunder King because like with cards like this, I just believe like you shouldn't run your Thunder King into D prison. So when I stuck Thunder King, I was just like, you get over it. Like I summoned my Jane next to it. I'm like, I'm never attacking with Thunder King. Like you'll either have to go out of your way to Caius it, and then I just honest you when you attack over Jane, or like you'll have to synchro to get out of it. And I just rode Thunder King for forever. And that was the day I really learned like the power in not attacking with your floodgate cards.
Oh, absolutely. Like the amount of times I apply the same logic to Ab-Zero, I'll just summon it in defense position and be like, I'm gonna play the game and you're gonna let me play the game.
Yeah,
Like
like you deal
obviously
with it. You nuke your board. Like I'm not one for wanting your D prison with my AZ.
no, I'm not gonna be a bad Yu-Gi-Oh player.
Yeah. Okay, so you want Thunder King in S tier?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, we'll put him there. Okay, next we have my boy, Wolf Lightsworn Beast.
B.
B tier?
Yeah.
Look how
I
they
think
massacred my boy.
I'm so sorry. I think he's B just because like he's the worst card to have in your hand if you don't have Solar Recharge. He is terrible.
Yeah,
Solar Recharge or Lumina, you need one of the two.
you don't want him there. He shows up
No.
there a lot. He's quite faithful. But yeah, I think probably B tier honestly, just because we're basing these off like what they are. And if it's in your
Yeah.
hand, it does nothing. If it's in your deck, it can do something. So I think putting it kind of like in the middle of the road there is a good choice.
Yeah, and the only reason I would even put it that high is just because there are just so many cards that send from your deck to the graveyard in that sense. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways to send it. And I think people forget that milling does count as sending something from the deck to the grave. There's just a lot of ways to trigger that, like especially in Lightsworn.
Yeah.
Even in Vayu, there's so many ways. Like
Yeah. It feels so fun and like nostalgic to just go foolish burial, send wolf. It's like so simple, but it brings back like a lot of memories of my childhood.
yeah, and then milling multiples is terrifying. You know, your
Yeah.
opponent has to deal with two wolves now. Like, holy shit, what do I do? Like,
Yeah, when you Celestia their board hit double wolf, like that's almost game right there in one turn.
yeah,
Like it's so close to lethal.
yeah, I definitely think
Yeah.
a solid
Yeah.
D.
Middle of the road, I think, for him is definitely good. So next we have Nova Summoner, and I kind of feel like this is just the same as Shining Angel.
So I agree with that. If I look at this objectively, I think it's a little bit better than Shining Angel because you can summon in defense mode, which I think is
Yeah.
really
I
cool.
literally put it right in front of Shining Angel just because of the defense mode thing.
Yeah. You know, it's up there with Pyramid Turtle in the sense that like you don't have to just go straight into attack mode. It's nice to be able to like, you know, summon something and just sit on it.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, Herald of Orange Light, and that can just go right on up to S tier.
Yeah, the only actual hand trap in the format, you know, besides like Crow and that, you know, we can talk about Trag and Gorse being hand traps and Battle Fader, but like this is the hand trap, bro. Like this is the
Yeah,
one.
that's the
Like
real like interactive hand trap.
yes, like having, you know, in any scenario where I've had this card in my hand, I've never hated having it in my hand as long as I have a fairy. Like as long as I have one negate to like just sit on. Like even like if you have six cards in hand and three of them are heralds and the other three are fairies, like it's just like, oh, I think I might just win. Like it's wild. Like with a deck like Kristya or just fairies in general, where you play so many monsters, it's just like
Yeah,
having this in your deck puts you a step above so many others. Like
yeah,
can't be stopped by Solemn. Can't be stopped by pretty much any trap card to my knowledge. Like it's it's just so good. Like the good is simply the word that you have to use for it. Like it deserves to be an S tier because where its applications are needed, it delivers instantly. Like
yeah, yeah. I love Herald of Orange Light. Obviously, like just having an interaction against those decks that other decks don't, like Dragon Turbo being able to stop Darkness Metal from your hand, really really good.
yes.
Like a lot of times you'll see Dragon Turbo play My Body as a Shield specifically for Herald, which I always think is hilarious.
Yeah. Um Honestly, besides the fact that it negates, my favorite thing is being able to summon off of a recruiter on your lane and then just go into a synchro play afterwards.
Yeah,
I think that's really, really cool. Being able to do it on either player's turn, honestly, because it kind of instills fear in them. Like, I used to do that anytime I'd see brain control in their grave already. I'd be like,
yeah,
cool, when you swing over this, I'm going into a synchro and I'm gonna drop Soul Purity and Light next turn and I'm gonna wreck your world. Like
yeah,
it's really cool the fact that he's a tutor. And even just as a normal summon late game, great in that sense. He can, don't get me wrong, he can be bricky, but he's only really bricky in like Pure Fairy. Like otherwise, like you're not going to do anything with him in Lightsworn except for use his effect or maybe like summon him to do a synchro play. So
Yeah. I agree there. Okay. Okay, so next we have Overdrive Teleporter. Literally doesn't see like any play in Edison format, but it
nothing.
is kind of a cool card. I feel like it's probably a C tier card, just based off what it does.
Yeah, the fact that it can't be special summoned could definitely, gives it a little bit of a handicap, but I understand why. Like it does have like a very intense effect. If you get it on the board, it can definitely be a problem, especially due to the fact that it is, it's a level 6. You can abuse it a little bit in certain ways. Definitely more so in like exceed formats and stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't say level 3 or lower; it just says level 3. But I remember when this card recently, like in the past 3 years, I believe, got bought out because there were a couple new psychic cards that were coming out that were able to be used in tandem with it. But I have seen one psychic deck in Edison. One psychic deck. It was when I first started playing the format, and like again, and it was very all over the place. He was of course running pure psychic, so he had like psychic snail and like
Not the snail.
yeah, he had the snail and like a couple others, and then this, and I was just like, all right, he's being faithful to the deck. I get it. Um, I think for what the card does, paying 2K life to special summon 2 monsters from the deck. Um, I think it's balanced in the sense that you can only do it once while it's face up on the field. When you add that aspect to it of making that so, it's like you kind of negate the whole like FTK enabled thing that Konami was doing for the longest time, where you could just do something as many times as you want.
Yeah.
So I think what you said is definitely the truth, like a C tier.
Okay. All right. Then we're on to Tethys, Goddess of Light. And this card can go really crazy when it gets going, letting you essentially just like draw until you don't hit a fairy. Can be really crazy at times.
Oh, I completely agree. Personal bias again. GX manga card. I essentially love it immediately.
Yeah.
But obviously the only times I see it are when you're running like Valhalla in the deck. So you have to understand that this card can definitely be a brick sometimes. In the decks that you do like would run it in rather. But what the card does itself, 2400 attack. Oddly enough, a level 5 instead of a 6, which is very interesting to me. And then you just keep drawing. Like it's kind of wild, like you said, like in a deck like Fairies where monsters are the main thing that you run besides trap cards. It's like you're probably, I don't know what the exact percentage is, obviously, but more often than not, you're gonna draw a monster. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're going to get the pluses off of it. I think it's a B tier card.
I will agree with that.
Right in the middle of the road, Okay. Down to our last row here. The White Stone of Legend. I feel like this is probably an S tier card. It's kind of like another bread and butter card of the Dragon Turbo deck.
Yeah, I agree with that. For what it does, like it adds such a pivotal piece to like the glue that holds together the deck. I mean, it essentially is in that sense. Like imagine Dragon Turbo without this card.
Yeah.
Like
I don't think the deck even works without it.
no, I definitely think S is a fair assessment, and like I don't really think there's much else you could say. It does one thing, and it does that one thing multiple times per turn, and it does that
Yeah.
thing very well. And I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it's also a tuner.
It is. It is a
Yeah,
tuner.
like instant fusion plays for days, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
If
All
all else
right.
fails, instant fusion, normal summon.
That's right. Make Brio.
Yeah,
Search. Ditch. Rejuve.
stupid.
Stupid. Next up is Honest, which without even thinking about it is S tier.
This card instills fear in people. It makes them. I've said this 5 times. This whole entire conversation. It makes the opponent play differently. Like
Yeah.
it is so It's honestly oppressive sometimes if you cannot find a way to get to a synchro play to out the light monster otherwise. You can lose just from that. The amount of times that I have lost because I couldn't out a JD or a Kristya or like at one point even an Aaron because they had Honest in their hand and I just didn't have anything else that I could do. Like it's game changing. Like oh my god, using it in freaking hero beat is just so like you're such an asshole. Like you already have everything else in your freaking deck. Now you get Honest too, bro. Like come
I know,
on.
dude. It's so crazy.
Like
So crazy. King of the format. One of the kings of the format for sure.
oh, absolutely. So good. I'm glad that it's getting its I can't wait to see what its Euro Ghost is going to look like in the reprint set.
Yeah, me too. Okay, we have Dragonith Lightsworn Dragon, and I have a really unpopular opinion about this card. I think this
Yeah, I was
card
about
is
to say this is the Michael Boyd dragon. That's essentially what it is. I mean, like the first time I ever saw it played was you.
yeah,
Like I had never seen someone text this in. It's cool. I definitely think it can be a force to be reckoned with.
yeah. It's basically like combos really well with Glorious Illusion, and it's like a fourth tribute summon. But there are so many times when you drop this guy, and he's close to 4,000 attack, and one pierce, and the game is just done.
Yeah,
I
no,
think it
like
gives Lightsworn an alternate win condition that's not JD or Celestia. Lets you play through stuff like Reaper and Gillen Duo and all of that, and just sometimes your opponent just has to wall up, try to survive, and this just punishes that. So I really think it's an A tier card. I think it was overlooked for a long time.
I completely agree with you. The thing I was going to say is like one of the things that Black Wings has going for them that's so powerful is Sirocco boost, Bora swing, and if it's a Ryko, it's like, fuck, I just lost.
Yeah,
This not only is it similar, but late game, this thing is humongous. Like
yeah,
freaking mongous. And like you don't even care if it gets popped. Damage calculation is going to happen when it swings. Like
yeah,
that's the craziest part. It's like it is like you just said is an alternate win condition. And like sure, I guess it could be bricky, but for everything that the card does, especially like for the deck that it's in, like if you take all that away, art itself is not bad. Like if it was generic and it was like a dark monster or something, yeah, it still sends the top 3 cards of the deck to the graveyard. Let's say it said 300 attack and defense for every monster in the grave. Card becomes even more cracked than it was. Like
yeah,
like
yeah.
I think it's a solid A tier card, and I will
Special place
argue
in my
that
heart.
with people.
Me
It needs a
too.
hollow.
It has an Ultra in the OCG. I wish we had it here.
Bro, they always freaking give the dragons the spice, man. Like they always give it the sauce.
They do. Okay, few more here. We have Shire Lightsworn Spirit,
I
and
don't even know what this freaking card does, bro. I've seen one person play it. It's a beautiful super rare. Um let's
she
see, what
gains
is
300 attack for every Lightsworn in your graveyard with a different name, and mills 2 during the end phase. But
it
it's a
feels like a
fairy.
C tier. It feels like a
Yeah,
C tier.
yeah, that's where I put her. Yeah, she's literally played just because she's a fairy that you can get off charge towards like a Lumina pitch or a Orange Light pitch. I always include her in my decks, my Kristya list. I actually played 2 at Richmond, oddly enough. And she counts herself, like if there's like another copy of herself engraved, it'll gain 300. So sometimes I would summon her and she'd be like 2,300 or 2,200,
That's not
which
bad.
is
Yeah,
which
that's
is
being
funny.
level 3 with 2300 is kind of weird.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
wild. And then
I
you have the honest in hand too. Like what the fuck?
exactly. Yeah, yep. Hilarious on Shire. All right. Elemental Hero Neos Alias. And if we're just looking at this through the lens
Shit.
of being
Horrible
like
card.
what it
This
is,
card's so bad. It's the worst card ever.
it's probably below Royal Magical Library. Its effect when Gemini summoned isn't even real. Like, it's just a
Yeah, no.
vanilla.
It
I just
just
put
a
him on here because
it
he's
is a
played in the
name.
format.
It is a name. Like that is it. That is all
That's
it
it.
is.
Yep. All right. To D tier with you. Okay. Herald of Green Light, and I think we kind of already said we're going to put this in B tier, right next to Purple Light. They're definitely below
Yeah.
Orange, but they're good cards for what they are.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Let's see, we have 6 more left, I think.
1, 2, 4, 5. There's actually 7 because there was one I realized that I was missing about halfway through, and it's right before the last one.
Oh, shit, okay.
Yeah, there was one I was like, how did I forget this card? But we'll get there.
Okay.
We're almost there. Barrier Statue of the Heavens. I kind of feel like that's probably right next to Jowgen. I did
Yeah,
play
I,
this
I,
card at
I agree with
YCS
that.
Indy. It is nice that I was playing Dinah for a while, and there would be so many times where I'd be stunning with Dinah and like mill over a wolf in the end phase, and I was like, why do I not just play Barrier Statue? So that was
For
how I
real.
ended up playing Barrier Statue.
Yeah, I mean, there's not like a crap ton of light monsters that people play like in decks besides Lightsworn and Fairies. So I mean, like, why
Yeah,
not at that point? Like,
yeah.
it's cool. You can freaking protect it with an honest. Like,
Yes, and its attack stat is actually real unlike Jowgen, because like Jowgen can get run over by like Diva and Swap Frog, but like with this, at least they either have to crash with the Swap Frog or like 1,000 damage with Honest is actually real with Barrier Statue.
yeah, no, absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Like, I think a frog player having to commit the swap frog to swing like is actually hilarious. So I would
Yeah,
give you that.
yeah, and even then it's fine because they didn't Monarch you; they had to normal summon.
Yeah, or like if I didn't like say we're in a simplified game state and like I have like materials engraved for Miracle Fusion, but you have this thing on the field. What the fuck do I do? Like,
Yeah,
like what do
exactly,
I do?
precisely. Okay, next one is Consecrated Light, and I feel like this is definitely an S tier card because it just absolutely ruins one of the best decks of the format, being Blackwing.
Yes, I agree. I don't know how much you know about this card, but if you are the turn player using it, if you tribute summon it, summon a Caius, it will leave the field before its effect is able to apply.
Yeah,
Um, which is really cool. I think that it's very stupid that that is the case, and the fact that you could just do that and like just hold it until like you're ready to get rid of it. The amount of times that I have won against Vayu because of this card is ridiculous, and people call me crazy, but like I was playing this as a side deck card in Diva Hero. Like I know you care about your normal summons, but this card like is a great side option. Like it will really save the game for you sometimes.
yeah. Slows the game down to where you can play it, especially as a Lightsworn player or a Kristya Sworn player
Oh,
against those
100%.
decks that can really ramp you
Once
down.
you get it in defense position, it's just like get over me. Literally get over me. Like
Yeah, yeah. I love Consecrated Light. All right. Next we have Arcus, Lightsworn, Druid, and this guy can solo matchups by himself at points in the game.
he can. Yeah, I've noticed like there some I think people read the card and don't really think about it that much. I don't think they think about it correctly. Like what
Yeah,
he offers you is just you're getting a bargain for him honestly. Like he's great.
yeah. And the fact it turns off your opponent from being able to avarice their Rykos back oddly comes up more than you would think.
Yeah, I think yeah, I don't really think people understand like how much it extends to. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's
The
it's
little
wild.
niche situations that can come up with this guy.
Yeah, like the fact that it can't be Lightsworn monsters anywhere. It's like, why did they do that? Why did Konami do that? I wonder. Like
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think he's S tier, but I think he's definitely A tier. So I put him
oh,
right
he's
next to
high
Aaron.
A for sure. And the 1800 man. Wow. Like
Yeah. 1800 wall.
I'm
All
honestly
right.
shocked he's not level 4.
Yeah, same. So we're down to 4 now. We have Cosmic Fortress Golgare. And I kind of feel like he's probably in the same realm as Ancient Sacred Wyvern. Kind of difficult to make, but when he does come out, it's pretty strong. Return stuff like your Fiendish Chains and Swords of Revealing Light, you can do some really cool stuff looping those cards with them.
Yeah, I think that an interaction that a lot of people probably don't realize is, if you use this in tandem with Call of the Haunted, because Call of the Haunted is being returned, just like Premature Burial, that the monster will stay.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really cool. But I definitely, I like the 26 a lot. It's really weird that he's a level 5. Like, it is wildly weird that he is a level 5 and has 2600 attack and has the effect that he does. It's kind of like how, like, they were like, let's make Goyo Guardian a level 6, but he can beat over every other level 8. Like,
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I didn't even think about that.
for simply, like, I'm gonna be real with you. For simply what he does, the fact that he is a level 5 that you could make, like, I know obviously it has to be with certain monsters, but the fact that he's level 5, he's got 26, and he can return things, I would honestly might even place him at like the end of B tier. Like,
Yeah, that's
he's
true.
a good card.
Put him in B tier. I think I'm going to put Alien Ammonite right there with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good place for him. All right, we're down to 2. And the one I forgot is Jane Lightsworn Paladin.
Oh my God, how did we forget? Like, Jane, plain Jane. Like,
Yeah.
Jane's
Plain
addiction. Like,
Jane.
how did we?
She's definitely A tier. Like, goes to 21, even under Lightmere.
Dude, the fact that it goes to 21 under Floodgates is wild to me.
Yeah,
It's
same
like
here.
only continuous during that point. It's so cool, honestly.
Yeah, definitely one of the better Lightsworns. She'll go in A tier right beside Aaron.
It's
And
honestly my favorite thing to just normal summon in Lightsworn, like early game. Like, I love just summoning Jane and passing. It's very nice.
yeah, feels very safe.
Yeah.
All right, the last one, the best card in Edison format. S tier, Happy Lover.
Oh, dude, Happy Lover. Don't even get me started on this card, man. Like, in tandem with Human Wave Tactics, this thing is wild. Has more tops than anything else in Edison format. We all know it. We all love it. We cannot deny the Lover. It's the best card ever made, for real.
Yep. And for that
It
reason,
it
it
makes
goes at the top of S tier.
the tippity top.
Yep. There she is.
Also, for anyone who doesn't know, that's go watch Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. The one episode where there's clearly a kid who is on shrooms or smoking marijuana. That's definitely what's happening. You're not fooling anyone for kids' entertainment. You're not.
We
um,
know what was happening.
he summons this card. And he's like, "Happy Lover, man." He's just vibing. He's just chilling.
He's just a little
It's
guy.
so funny. He is just a little guy, in fact.
Okay. Well, that was a lot of fun, and I think we did a really good job of placing these cards into their respective tiers. And yeah, we'll be back very soon when we're going to go through and do the rest of the attributes of the format. And Ethan, really want to thank you for sitting down with me tonight and helping me rank these guys.
Of course. I mean, it was a good 2 hours. Also,
Yeah.
I did want to say, oddly enough, like, one of the reasons I like that card so much, besides it being a $75 tournament pack common, is Konami gave it one of their coins. Like, I don't know if you saw that, but the first wave of coins that they did
Oh yeah,
for
I did see that actually.
I'm like, why? Where did that come from? Like, it's
Such a
kind of
random
wild looking at
choice.
it. Yeah, I was like, all right, we need to give this thing a little bit more appreciation. But no, dude, honestly, it's been great coming on here. I'm very excited for the future. They don't know, but we know. Like,
Yeah, we
I'm
know.
excited for that. Very, very excited for that. But thank you for having me. I'd love to do another one of these. I definitely think that light and dark, respectively, are probably going to have the most selection. I
Yeah.
don't know how much we'd have for wind. Maybe we'd have a good bit for water, but like the other attributes aren't as populated in that sense. So
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, thank you guys for watching. This is Mike from the Edison Club and guest Ethan signing out. Until the next one.